even the sailor with a 25-foot sailboat who ventures more than a couple miles out to sea is probably going to be carrying it, what we call an EPIRB, which is a satellite, water activated satellite device. So if they get in trouble, the thing goes in the water, it automatically kicks off and it sends a signal to the satellite. Well, when we build these submarines that we operate and the Royal Navy does, it's all about redundancy, as you say. If you need one pump, you put in two. If you need two, you put in three. And they're redundant systems, they're backup systems because we know things can go bad. It's a very harsh environment. The salt water corrodes everything. So we got to stay on top of it. I don't understand all the technical specs of this ship, but I have seen the CEO showing the ship on a video where he's using a game controller to control the ship, and he's kind of bragging that, oh, hey, I got these at the spare parts store and that kind of thing. And I'm all for saving money, but we're going to a place that's 380 times the pressure that we feel here. It's unimaginable. It's like the Empire State Building of lead sitting on top of you. And we get all excited about seeing space movies where the spacecraft might have a tiny pinhole leak and the air is rushing out. That's one atmosphere. That's one going to zero. Here we have 380. It's really unimaginably hostile.
And what could have happened then? I mean, it's beginning to look like something serious has gone wrong technically. What could that possibly be? What sort of things stop you communicating?
Yeah, well, the happiest situation would be they just had a basic problem with the actual communication device. They had a corroded fitting or a worn out battery or a broken switch or something simple like that. I don't think that's what happened. I think it's more likely that the ship had some sort of a significant problem, maybe a part of the hull, because the hull gets compressed and expands and compressed and expands. And after multiple cycling, they've got titanium ends connected to a carbon fiber middle tube part. Do those contract and expand at the same rate? Are there little tiny cracks forming where the junctions are? Are those bolts all perfectly torqued exactly to the right amount? Are they made from the right material? A low-cost vendor didn't substitute a cheaper bolt for the bolt that we specified in the drawing. On and on and on and on and on. Any one of those things could have gone wrong. You get a tiny pinhole leak, boom, it's over. Because at that pressure, the water would come in so fast, they probably wouldn't even realize they had a problem.
And at that point, if that happens, the water comes in. There's no craft to discover. That's just what happens. That's just that.
Yeah, sadly they're all dead. There's just debris and bodies.
How much do you think about the questions of amateurs doing this? Is this? I mean, people go in. People have got money; they can spend it where they like. The history of adventurism is as long as human nature. People who have done this forever, and people do great things because they push the edge. That's how human beings discover things. But from what you're saying, this is a place where you really need all sorts of levels of equipment and experience, and being amateur here is very dangerous.
Yeah, I admire the sense of adventure. It doesn't have a great appeal for me because if you're climbing a mountain, that's physical. There's stamina, there's endurance, there's skill that's involved in getting up the mountain. Here, basically, your skill is just being able to sit in an uncomfortable position and tolerate the body fluid smells of the people around you for 8 to 10 hours. The skill is in building the vessel. And so it's sort of the same thing with space travel. I mean, we give them training and they probably think they have some degree of control, but they really don't. The control was with the design and the fabrication and the manufacturing, all those kind of boring logistical things that boring people like me are pretty good at and keep us alive.
Yeah, and that's so important, isn't it? What chance do you give them really now, knowing what you know? Because as you're saying, presumably, even if you found them, how do you get something up from 2 miles down? How do you get people out of a craft they're bolted into? What sort of chances are we talking here?
Yeah, so that's part two of the rescue. So we find, let's say we find them. The Navy has a system that has a clunky acronym called FADOS, but it basically stands for a flyaway giant cable on a spool that's designed to lift 60,000 pounds from water that's deeper than they're in. So that piece of equipment is normally kept out in San Diego. It's being sent to Newfoundland. It can get placed on a ship. There are some big ships that I think can handle it. They can take it out. But again, that ship's got to then drive out there. So that's another day, perhaps. So, but if everything goes right and they find them, let's say we wake up in the morning and they're found, it's possible that we can get that hook down there. Then you need a little remote submarine to make sure it's connected on, and then you could reel them up. It's possible we could pull a rabbit out of the hat. I don't think that's what's going to happen. I put the odds at about 1%.